And we are live. Well, hello, everybody. And hello, Tony. Tony is everybody right now. We are live once again here in the Junk Shop Library. We're still in Judges. We're going to be touching on the story of Samson today. Always a fun time and always good to encounter a story you actually remember. How is everybody today? Who we got? Can't read my counter. Hey, Dave. Welcome, welcome. All right. I'm trying to think if I've got any housekeeping to get out of the way before we plunge into the word of the Lord. But I don't think I've got any since the other night. Yeah, we got Tony Designs and Critical Cripple in the house. All right. This is off to a good start. And actually at a reasonable time of day for once. Am I right? All right. Well, for any of you following along at home, we will be starting today with the 13th chapter of the book of Judges. And we will continue until interest flags or the stream hits an hour, because if it goes much past an hour, A, nobody's going to watch it on replay, and B, it'll take forever for YouTube to upload it after the fact. Lucky 13. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord, delivered them into the hand of the Philistines, 40. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren, and bare not. And the angel of the Lord and said unto her, Behold now, thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive, and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive, and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. And the woman came and told her husband, saying, A man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel of God, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. But he said unto me, Behold, thou shalt conceive, and bear a son, and now drink no wine nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite unto God from the day of the talking too fast. Child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death. Then Manoah entreated the Lord, and said, O my Lord, let the man of God which thou didst send come again unto us, and teach us what we shall do unto the child that shall be born. And God hearkened to the voice of Manoah, and the angel of God came again unto the woman as she sat in the field. But Manoah her husband was not with her. And the woman made haste, and ran, and shewed her husband, and said unto him, Behold, the man hath appeared unto me that came unto me the other day. And Manoah arose, and went after his wife, and came to the man, and said unto him, Art thou the man that spakest unto the woman? And he said, I am. And Manoah said, Now let thy words come to pass. How shall we order the child, and how shall we do unto him? And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Of all that I said unto the woman, let her beware. She may not eat of anything that cometh of the vine, neither let her drink wine nor strong drink, nor eat any unclean thing. All that I commanded her, let her observe. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, I pray thee, let us detain thee, until we shall have made ready a kid for thee. And the angel of the Lord said unto Manoah, Though thou detain me, I will not eat of thy bread. If thou wilt offer a burnt offering, thou must offer it unto the Lord. For Manoah knew not that he was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto the angel of the Lord, What is thy name, that when thy sayings come to pass, we may do thee honor? And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Why askest thou thus after my name, seeing it is a secret? So Manoah took a kid with a meat offering, and offered it upon a rock unto the Lord. And the angel did wondrously, and Manoah and his wife looked on. For it came to pass, when the flame went up toward heaven from off the altar, that the angel of the Lord ascended in the flame of the altar. And Manoah and his wife looked upon it, and fell on their faces to the ground. But the angel of the Lord did no more appear to Manoah and to his wife. Then Manoah knew that he was an angel of the Lord. And Manoah said unto his wife, We shall surely die, because we have seen God. But his wife said unto him, If the Lord were pleased to kill us, he would not have received a burnt offering and a meat offering at our hands. Neither would he have shewed us all these things, nor would, as at this time, have told us such things as these. And the woman bare a son, and called his name Samson. And the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move on him at times in the camp of Dan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. And there we have the only slightly misogynistic 13th chapter of Judges, right? Great koogly moogly. All right, getting used to these features. Okay. Well, I want to say something about this being proof positive that this is one misogynistic little book, but we kind of already know that, don't we? I mean, raping a woman becomes a business transaction with her father, and you're unclean for twice as long when you give birth to a girl baby as you are when you give birth to a boy baby. Not to mention the various extremely rapey massacres of the neighbors of the children of Israel. But even had we not encountered all of that, I look like a muppet. I'm going to give me 1 second to check this camera. There. At least have shoulders now if I do not even have arms. Even had we not all of the extant misogyny in the book up until this point, we might suspect that its authors might not think too highly of women just from this story alone. Manoah gets a name, his daddy gets a name, the neighboring camps round about him get names. His wife, the woman. And you don't get the impression that this is a Sherlock Holmes and Irena Adler kind of situation either. That the woman is a sign of respect, the respect due to someone who was to carry and who later gave birth to Samson, the mighty deliverer of his people, the woman. No, it's just her over there, her indoors, So anyway, Manoah's unnamed wife is going about her day, probably doing, 5/8 of the work in exchange for absolutely fuck all of the credit, including a name. Sorry, I'm not letting this go. Pardon me. And this man comes up to her and says, "Hey, you can't have babies, right?" She says, "That's right. I'm the bitch that can't have babies, known for miles around. What do you want, you?" He says, "Well, I'm an angel of the Lord, and I'm here to tell you that you're going to have a baby." She says, "The dickens you say." He says, No, you're going to have a baby," and he wanders off. So that night, she takes her husband aside and says, "Hey, you know this whole thing about me not being able to have a baby? Well, somebody I've never seen before wandered up to me today, and he was a scary looking dude, and I think he was an angel, and he told me that I was going to have a baby." Manoah, of course, treats this with the gravity and the respect that such a momentous announcement deserves, and essentially tells her to get stuffed. She's seeing stuff. But they pray and they say, if this was indeed a visitation from you, O Lord Most High, can you send him again so that the man of the house can hear it? Hey, Angie, welcome. Always good to see you. And the Lord does not answer them, but there's a bit of a dearth of communication from the Lord around about this time. We've got super violent massacre men who like to take over the house of Israel and claim they're doing a lot of murdering on behalf of the Lord, but we hadn't had an actual for sure prophet in quite some time. Word direct from on high is even scarcer. But they pray, so could we get a confirmation number on this baby that we're supposed to have rolling in 9 months? Well, the next day, the woman is going about her womanly business, doing her womanly thing. And the same guy rolls up to her and says, I hear you want confirmation. Well, look, here's the thing. I actually am an angel of the Lord, and you actually gonna have a baby. She says, you wait right there just 1 second. She runs into the house. She comes to her husband and says, hey, he's here again. The talking on behalf of the Lord Most High guy. He's here again, and he says, I'm going to have a baby. So her husband comes out and says, I'm going to need you to repeat all that to me, because I don't have a lot of faith in my wife. I think she may be crazy with the womanly problems. And even though she's told me you told her this, 2 times at this point. First of all, she said you were scary looking, and I don't think you're scary looking. So she might just be having the hysterias. So what was it you were talking to my wife about while I wasn't around? The guy says, your wife gonna have a baby. Do I need to explain to you how that's supposed to come about? Do I need to draw you a diagram? And Manoah says, oh, this indeed is the word of the Most High God. Let me go kill a goat for you and you can eat it. And he says, I'm not going to eat your damn goat, but if you want to set it on fire over here, I'll worship God with you. Manoah says, okay. So he grabs a goat and he kills it and he throws it on the altar and he sets it on fire. And the angel goes whoof, up to heaven with the fire. And the 2 humans, they fall down on the ground and say, oh, wow. Manoah says, shit, we gonna die. We done seen God, and we gonna die. His wife says, listen, you dumb son of a bitch. If he wanted us dead, he could have just killed us. You think he really would have gone to all the trouble of coming to us and giving us the prophecy about me having a baby in 9 months' time 3 damn times because of your not listening ass? 3 damn times because you wouldn't just believe me. He had to give us this prophecy 3 damn times. You think at some point if he'd wanted us dead, he wouldn't have just killed us? Manoah says, maybe you have a point, wife. I'll be honest, I remember the story of Samson as a grown-up. I do not have any recollection of this story about his cantankerous father and his nameless, not being believed by anybody mother. Here's a question. Why does the angel appear so terrible, so terrifying, so downright scary, that the mere sight of him convinces the woman that he's an angel of the Lord? But it takes this same dude blasting off like a rocket up into heaven along with the fire from the burnt offering to convince Mr. Manoah. The hell's that about? Is this just a women are weak thing like so much of the rest of this damn book? I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird story. Just coffee. All right. Shall we do 14? Who's in favor of 14? Let's see the vast host of witnesses in the chat. See what the consensus is. That wasn't a dig at any of y'all who are here. I love seeing y'all. You know I do. Anybody? Well, heck, if y'all don't want to hear a chapter, you can always just run away, I suppose. Don't necessarily have to. Let's see if this works. Poof! Just like magic. All right. We're going to roll into 14 now. See if there's more prenatal weirdness in the Samson story that even those of us who called ourselves familiar with this book managed to miss growing up. There's my damn glasses. My life's about to be so much easier. I've been looking for these damn things for like 2 days, and they're right there next to my ashtray. Of course they are. All right. See yeses and strange faces in the chat. All right. 14. And Samson went down to Timnath and saw a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. And he came up and told his father and his mother and said, I have seen a woman in Timnath of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife. Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well. But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord that he sought an occasion against the Philistines, for at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel. Then went Samson down, and his father and his mother, to Timnath, and came to the vineyards of Timnath, and behold, a young lion roared against him. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid, and he had nothing in his hand. But he told not his father or his mother what he had done. And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. And he took thereof in his hands, and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson there made a feast, for so used the young men to do. And it came to pass, when they saw him, that they brought 30 companions to be with him. And Samson said unto them, I will now put forth a riddle unto you. And if ye can certainly declare it me within the 7 days of the feast, and find it out, then I will give you 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. But if ye cannot declare it me, then ye shall give me 30 sheets and 30 change of garments. And they said unto him, Put forth thy riddle, that we may hear it. And he said unto them, Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness, and they could not in 3 days expound the riddle. And it came to pass on the 7th day that they said unto Samson's wife, Entice thy husband, that he may declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee and thy father's house with fire. Have ye called us to take that we have? Is it not so? And Samson's wife wept before him, and said, Thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told it me. And he said unto her, Behold, I have not told it my father nor my mother, and shall I tell it thee? And she wept before him the 7 days while their feast lasted. And it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she lay sore upon him. And she told the riddle to the children of her people. And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day, before the sun went down, What is sweeter than honey? And what is stronger than a lion? And he said unto them, If ye had not plowed with my heifer, ye had not found out my riddle. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ashkelon, and slew 30 men of them, and took their spoil, and gave change of garments unto them which expounded the riddle. And his anger was kindled, and he went up to his father's house. But Samson's wife was given to his companion, whom he had used as his friend. Uh-huh. Your cheating heart. Hey, Math Pig, welcome aboard. Dave said, can't decide if I should get dressed or run away again. Hey, don't get dressed on my account. You just hang around here. That's fine. Ain't bothering me. All right. Well, I'm going through some coffee today, and I cannot get enough of it nor wake up. All right. So, young Samson goes peeping over the fences at his neighbors, and he sees a fine-looking lady. He goes back to his daddy. He says, I like her. I want to marry her. Can you arrange that for me, Pops? And Pops says, God damn it, kid. We got neighbors. We got friends. We got relations that you could marry. You got options as far as the eye can see, and you had to pick a barbarian. He says, Dad, the barbarian lady's hot. Dad says, God damn it, I don't care if she's hot. Why can't you pick a non-barbarian? And Samson says, I made up my mind. Look, I can't cut my hair. I can't shave my beard. I can't drink any wine nor strong drink. I can't come near any dead bodies, whether animal nor man, including you, old man. If you happen to drop down, I'm going to have to miss your funeral, all because of some stupid-ass Nazarite vow that y'all made on my behalf before I even plopped out screaming into this world. You owe me. I want her. Dad says, oh, crying out loud. All right, let's go see what we can do. Mama and Daddy pack up and they head over to Philistine Town. On their way down, Samson turns aside, goes off to take a crap, and gets attacked by a lion, and he kills it with his bare fucking hands. Now, I don't know much about the animal translations. Y'all pardon me, my nose is itching something fierce. There's something blooming out of season around here. Math Pig. All right. Well, what was that? Animal translations. If you've been with me a while, you remember way back in like Leviticus or some shit when we were doing the clean and the unclean animals, and God made a huge big deal about something called a pygarg. And we tried to figure out what was a pygarg and didn't come to a conclusive answer. Well, I mean, among other things, there's multiple references in the King James Version to badgers, which don't exist in the Judean desert. It's an English creature. So apparently they just translated as best they could some of these critters that the book lists. So I don't know a lot about the native fauna of the Judean desert, but I don't think they've got actual lions there. Yeah. So the Sunday school art of the huge, 1,500-pound maned African lion and Samson tearing its head in half like King Kong with the Tyrannosaurus, probably not. Even if we grant Samson historicity for the moment, which, let's face it, not likely. So whatever, some kind of predatory critter ambushes Samson while he's taking a crap, and he manages to kill it. And he leaves the body there and goes and catches up with Mommy and Daddy and doesn't tell them what happened. Big deal. So they get down there and they court and dower and whatever else the Israelite Philistine wife buy-in rituals happen to be at the time, which apparently were so commonplace that the book doesn't see fit to talk about them. And then Mommy and Daddy and Samson go back to the house. Well, sometime later, they return to Philistia, and they go down the same way, and Samson wanders off by himself to see what the dead body of whatever he killed looks like. Because boys are gross, and boys will do that. And he sees that in the meantime, a hive of bees has taken up residence inside this dead lion or pygarg or whatever the hell it is, badger. So he takes some of the honeycomb and starts to munch. And he takes enough of it to give Mommy and Daddy some too. Well, they get down there, and Samson gets into a little pissing contest with his prospective in-laws. Brief detour. I thought of this while I was reading, and I should have scribbled it down. Thankfully, I remembered while we were still in context. I think we just found the story to use as ammunition towards anybody who tries to sell us this fantasy of 1950s gender roles as coming straight out of the 1611 only. Because Samson threw a feast. And you could argue me that it was Samson's servants and slaves and women folk that threw the feast, but it don't say that in the book. It says Samson made a feast for his entire relatives. So there you go. Hard to get more manly and masculine than Samson, and he cooked for a whole passel of people. Humph. Take that, Mr. Anderson. All right. So at some point during the festival proceedings, he gets into a riddling match with his in-laws. And he thinks, you know what? There is no way they're going to know about my honey inside the pygarg story. So he tells them a riddle about that and says, look, you got 7 days to figure this shit out. And if at the end of 7 days you hadn't figured it out, you got to replenish my wardrobe. And in the unlikely event that you do figure it out, I'll replenish yours for all of you with exactly the same amount of replenishment that I'm planning on getting from you when you don't figure it out. Not sure about the math there, but he's a strong man, not a mathematician. What do you mean bees wouldn't do that? I saw that exact same thing happen on an episode of Hannibal. And if there's one thing I take my natural knowledge from, it's batshit procedurals on NBC. Math pick. Bees wouldn't do that. Humph. Casting aspersions on my stories. So anyways. Oh, shit. Wow. My Southern came through real hard there. Anyways. I hate that. Okay. So for 3 out of the 7 days of the feast, they think and they think and they think, trying to figure out how in the world is a raven like a writing desk anyway. And finally they think, you know what? We are not going to come up with this. And we don't have that much spare clothes to give this idiot. This out-of-town moron coming in here trying to take our clothes as well as our women's. So go to Samson's new bride. They say, hey, cousin, here's the thing. We need you to manipulate this contest for us a little bit. Wow, I am washed the hell out on that side. I'm going to have to do something about that window one of these days. Getting dragged away. All right. Take care, Dave. He's making a hive in Math Pig keeps bees. I love this community. And you learn something new every day, and you meet the most interesting people. This pig keeps bees. I love this era that we live in, where you can meet people online that you would absolutely, positively never meet in real life. That's amazing. I used to know the word, the Latin-derived word for beekeeper. Aparian? No, that's an adjective. Anyway, something like that. Aparian? That's going to bother me. I'm not going to spend time digging out dictionaries to look it up, though. Y'all put up with me doing that the last time. Okay. Yeah, so they go to Samson's new bride and they say, cousin, we don't have clothing to spare to hold up our end of this wager. So we need you to wheedle the answer out of your husband and give it to us. Apiarists. I can't pronounce nothing. All right, let's see. So, Samson's lovely new bride goes over to him one night and she says, hey, hubby, my feelings is hurt. Hurt my feelings is. You didn't tell me the answer to the riddle you told my cousins. He says, woman, I didn't tell my parents the answer to this riddle. Why should I tell you? I only known you for 4 days. So she commences to cry. Lovely picture of womanhood we've got in this book, isn't it? The women don't even have names, and they act bizarre and manipulative every time you turn around. All right. So she cries for 4 fucking days until Samson can't take it anymore and says the answer to the riddle is the dead lion beehive that I made by accident. She says, okay, thanks. She runs off and tells her cousins. And her cousins come running up just before midnight on the last day of the feast and says, hey, Samson, we figured out your riddle. It's accidental lion beehive. He says, God damn it, I have no earthly idea how you managed to figure that out. I can't stand losing. And he goes off to the next town and he kills 30 fuckers and takes their clothes like it's a game of Hitman and brings their clothes back and gives it to his new in-laws and says, here's your 30 changes of garment. Weird fucking book. Y'all pardon my French. So hard to say. Yeah, just go hashtag beekeeper. Works for me. Samson's new wife didn't have a name. She just the hot Philistine chick. Nope, no name. The vineyards of her surrounding area have a name. Nope, just Samson's wife. Samson's wife who cried for 4 days so that her cousins wouldn't have to dig deep in their closet to give coats to her new husband, who apparently only likes her for her. I'm sure he loves her for her personality as well. All righty. What What do you think, y'all? You want to do 15? See, I don't have any idea how many chapters the story of Samson takes up, honestly. If y'all are willing to stick with me, we'll do another chapter of the tale of Samson, the deeply intellectual. What do we think? What's the consensus? This is going to make riveting watching in the replay, ain't it? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. Oh. All right. Well, I already made a banner for 15, so I'm going to go to 15. Ha! Input from the community? What input from the community? Junk Shop just does what he wants to do. Junk Shop about to run out of coffee. Well, that's when we know we'll have to call it, when Junk Shop runs out of coffee and starts getting weird. All right, so Samson's new wife, having been given to his companion, not sure why that is or by whom. Probably Samson. He got tired of listening to her bellyache. And then cheating on his bet. 15. But it came to pass, within a while after, in the time of wheat harvest, that Samson visited his wife with a kid, and he said, I will go in to my wife into the chamber. But her father would not suffer him to go in. And her father said, I verily thought that thou hadst utterly hated her, therefore I gave her to thy companion. Oh, well, there we go. Explains that. Is not her younger sister fairer than she? Take her, I pray thee, instead of her. And Samson said concerning them, Now shall I be more blameless than the Philistines, though I do them a displeasure. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes, and took firebrands, and turned tail to tail, and put a firebrand in the midst between two tails. And when he had set the brands on fire, he let them go into the standing corn of the Philistines, and burnt up both the shocks and also the standing corn with the vineyards and the olives. Then the Philistines said, Who hath done this? And they answered, Samson, the son-in-law of the Timnite, because he had taken his wife and given her to his companion. And the Philistines came up and burnt her and her father with fire. And Samson said unto them, Though ye have done this, yet will I be avenged of you, and after that I will cease. And he smote them hip and thigh with a great slaughter, and he went down and dwelt in the top of the rock Etam. Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah, and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, Why are ye come up against us? And they answered, To bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he hath done to us. Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock Etam, and said to Samson, Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is it this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, As they did unto me, so have I done unto them. And they said unto him, We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hand of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, Swear unto me that ye will not fall upon me yourselves. And they spake unto him, saying, No, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand, but surely we will not kill thee. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. And when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, and the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and the cords that were upon his arms became as flax that was burnt with fire, and his bands were loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand, and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, With the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking, that he cast away the jawbone out of his hand, and called that place Ramoth Lehi. And he was sore athirst, called on the Lord, and said, Thou hast given this great deliverance into the hand of thy servant. And now shall I die of thirst, and fall into the hand of the uncircumcised? But God clave an hollow place that was in the jaw, and there came water thereout. And when he had drunk, his spirit came again, and he revived. Wherefore he called the name thereof En-Hakkore, which is in Lehi unto this day. And he judged Israel in the days of the Philistines 20 years. There we have Judges 15. Don't fuck with Samson. All right. Samson's poor father-in-law just cannot catch a break, apparently. Wow. So after Samson's nameless new bride helps her cousins cheat on the bet, the riddle bet from the last chapter, her father says, well, this ain't going to work out. Sorry, sweetie, but I'm going to give you to somebody else because I don't think Mr. Samson's going to want anything to do with you after you fucked over his garment swapping bet. Her response, of course, is not recorded. So he gives her to somebody else. Just, boop, here you go. Have a woman. Like a party favor. Extra bag of fries. Free gift with purchase. And after a while, Samson looks around and he says, you know, I had a wife. I think I'm going to go do wifely, husbandly things with my wife. So he goes down to her tent, and his new father-in-law is standing outside the tent and says, you can't go in there. Samson, what do you mean I can't go in there? My fucking wife is in there. Who do you think you are? You already done gave her to me. Father-in-law says, well, here's the thing. I didn't think you'd want her anymore. Samson says, what do you mean I wouldn't want her anymore? We've already, we had the 7-day feast and the traditional riddle waiter, and I done came from all the way over in Eshkelon. What do you mean I wouldn't want her anymore? And father-in-law says, well, you know, there was that whole cheating on the riddle thing. And Samson straight up says, I didn't tell you I wanted her because of her brain. I wanted her because she was hot. And his father-in-law says, well, oops, already done gived her away to somebody else. Samson says, well, that's okay. So he goes out into the desert and he captures a bunch of foxes and ties their tails together and sets them on fire and lets them loose in the fields and burns the entire crop to the ground. The Philistines get wind of the fact that he's all pissed off, and the reason he's so pissed off and has destroyed their entire year's crops is because his father-in-law gave his wife to somebody else, so they kill both the father-in-law and the new wife with fire. The wife's response is not recorded. This book just pisses me off sometimes. All right. So Samson says, I wanted that wife. That's why we're in this pickle, is I wanted that wife. And the Philistines besiege Samson's family. And Samson goes up and pouts on a mountain. Samson's family comes to him and says, here's the thing. We've got to turn you over to the Philistines because in case you hadn't noticed, They rule over us. You can't just go around setting fire to their shit because you got cheesed off because they rule over us. Samson says, you're just going to kill my ass and give my dead body to them to appease them. They say, promise we won't. We just got to tie you up and take you down and give you to the Philistines. Samson says, okay, sounds fair. So they tie him up and take him and give him over to the Philistines, and he breaks out of his ropes and sees a dead donkey on the ground and rips off its jaw and kills 1,000 people with it. And then he says, wow, that's thirsty work, bludgeoning to death 1,000 men. And God says, don't worry about that. Look where the wisdom tooth used to be. And Samson looks, and sure enough, there's a little hollow in the jaw filled with water, and he drinks and is replenished. There's people who take this to be literally true. Every single word. That's what annoys me most about this stupid fucking book. You can find violence and war crimes and misogyny and what have you else in so many books. Not many of them have adherents who will literally kill over the wording of a particular translation because they hold that their, what was it I called it back in Exodus or wherever, morally bankrupt short story collection is literally true, and a mandate from an invisible man in the sky all right, Junk Shop, don't have an aneurysm. It's a long fucking way still through to Revelation. Sometime this month, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, believe it or not. We've been going at this for a solid year since the days of In the Beginning. It has been an absolute delight to have y'all with me along the way. Those of you who have come to me late and those of you who have been with me since the beginning. As much as I bitch and moan about the book, I really have enjoyed the process. Now imagine, if you will, we're on page 127 of 546, and it's taken us a year. Y'all are going to be able to watch old Junk Shop age in real time as we go through this piece of shit. What are we at? We're at 48 minutes, almost 49. See how long chapter 16 is, because I don't, like I said at the beginning, I don't want to go over. Yeah, it's kind of long. Oh, you know what though? That's the end of Samson. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do 16, so we'll have the entirety of Samson all in one video. Can y'all hear that horrible grinding sound? I hope not. Somebody's leaf blowing outside is what that noise is. Y'all let me know in the chat if it gets too obnoxious, and we'll just, I don't know what, I can't really do anything about it, but I can speak up a little, I guess. I can yell into the microphone, because that's what you want, is this beautiful, mellifluous voice at an even higher volume, right? I'm not under any illusions. All righty. So Samson judged for 20 years over the Philistines, or over Israel in the days of the Philistines. Oh, Angie can't hear it. Well, thank goodness for that. It is absolute mayhem outside this window, so I'm glad it's not coming through. Angie says, glad I found you. I'm glad you did too. I'm glad we found each other. It's been fun. All right, now here comes the part of the Samson story that everybody knows. It's essentially two things, right? It's Delilah and the jawbone of the ass. So chapter 16. Take the banner down for 15. I should do that. Badoo, hide. Badoo, create. I'm just going to talk out loud while I type. I wonder. I wish I'd thought of this. I know this is riveting. Yep. I'm going to start doing that. That will work. It's not just me aging in real time over the course of this, but learning in real time. If you've seen any of the super early ones, it's just me sitting in my recliner with my phone propped up on a stool in front of me. Every day in every way, I'm getting better. All right. Judges 16. Then went Samson to find his glasses. If I'd known I was going to be able to sustain this, and I was going to be working in some of the lighting conditions I have, I would have gotten a large print Bible, y'all. I really would have done. All right, try this again. Then went Samson to Gaza, and saw there an harlot, and went in unto her. And it was told the Gazites, saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in, and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying, in the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him. And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city, and the two posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of an hill that is before Hebron. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and said unto her, entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee, every one of us, 1,100 pieces of silver. And Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. And Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 green withes that were never dried, then shall I be weak, and be as another man. Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green withes which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. Now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. And she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he brake the withes, as a thread of tow is broken when it touches the fire. So his strength was not known. And Delilah said unto Samson, behold, thou hast mocked me, and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound. And he said unto her, if they bind me fast with new ropes that were never occupied, then shall I be weak, and be as another man. Delilah therefore took new ropes, and bound him therewith, and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And there were liers in wait, abiding in the chamber, and he brake them from off his arms like a thread. And Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me, and told me lies. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. he said unto her, If thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. And she fastened it with the pin, and said unto him, The Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awaked out of his sleep, and went away with the pin of the beam, with the web. And she said unto him, How canst thou say, I love thee, when thine heart is not with thee? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and hast not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. And it came to pass, when she pressed him daily with her words, and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death, that he told her all his heart, and said unto her, There hath not come a razor upon mine head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak, and be like any other man. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines, saying, Come up this once, for he hath shewed me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and brought money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knees, and she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head, and she began to afflict him, and his strength went from him. And she said, Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he woke out of his sleep, and said, I will go out as at other times before, and shake myself. And he wist not that the Lord was departed from him. But the Philistines took him, and put out his eyes, and brought him down to Gaza, and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. Howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaven. Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their god, and to rejoice. For they said, Our God hath delivered Samson our enemy into our hand. And when the people saw him, they praised their God, for they said, Our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said, Call for Samson, that he may make us sport. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport, and they set him between the pillars. And Samson said unto the lad that led him by the hand, Suffer me that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them. Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women, that beheld while Samson made sport. And Samson called unto the Lord, and said, O Lord God, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee, only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. And Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood, and on which it was borne up, of the one with his right hand, and of the other with his left. And Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords, and upon all the people that were therein. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life. Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down, and took him, and brought him up, and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, in the burying place of Manoah his father. And he judged Israel 20 years. Judges 16. The moral of the story, don't play bondage games with people you don't know real well. I don't know if I've got anything more to say about the story of Samson and Delilah that hadn't already been said. Those of us who were brought up in the church heard that story pretty much from cradle to grave, whether that's literal grave or the grave of our faith. Damn notifications. I gotta figure out a way to make that stop happening, at least while I'm live. Well, y'all pardon me. Sorry. So Samson, having recently been widowed, or well, let's say recently, 20-some years ago, been widowed. It's the same, right? For a man whose spouse has died. As for a woman whose spouse has died, they're both referred to as having been widowed. So Samson, being a widower now, and having conducted vast feats of strength with the jawbone of an ass, and having judged Israel for 20 years, falls in love again, at long last, with a Philistine woman. Because apparently Mr. Samson got a type. He likes them Philistine women. And the Philistine woman's kinfolk come to her and say, now that you've got an in, we need you to need you to entice him and figure out his weakness, because he's got to have one. Everybody has one. Figure it out, and then come tell us, because we're tired of not being able to keep the Israelites down because they've got this fucking Superman on their side. She says, well, I'll do my best. So she goes to Samson and says, let's play bondage games. And he says, okay. So she says, what can I tie you up with that you won't be able to get out of? He says, plant fibers. So she says, okay. She smuggles some Philistines into her bedchamber and has them hide in a footlocker or some such damn thing. And once she gets him all tied up, she says, the Philistines are here. And he says, really? Crack. Where are the Philistines? I want to get my murder on. Yeah, Angie says, it's funny. He's so strong. All it takes is some crying and nagging to get him to cave. That is very true. That really is the story of Samson's life. He's got superhuman strength, but all it takes is some woman crying and carrying on. And all of a sudden, he's got his entire brain just wanders away. And click, double click, whatever. All right. And this goes on for quite some time. I don't think you trust me. What can I use to tie you up completely so that you're absolutely, positively helpless? The Philistines are here. Not too bright, Mr. Samson. Real strong, but not too bright, because this goes on for several repetitions. And finally, she bitches and moans and bellyaches and whines and howls and carries on enough to where she gets on his nerves enough to where he actually tells her the secret of his strength. No word on how he knows that. Which is my suspension of disbelief in this story of the superhuman Nazarite who eats corpse honey and kills 1,000 people with a jawbone club and all this kind of crap. And this is where my suspension of disbelief breaks down. That he somehow knows where his strength comes from, despite the fact that he's never been told. And there's no way for him to know. It's not like earlier on in the story, he shaved his head and found he was weak as a kitten. He just assumes it's because of this Nazarite vow. And she says, Samson, dumb jock. Yeah, exactly. Dumb as a sack of hammers, this poor guy. So apparently he rolls the dice in an attempt to get her to shut up. And at some point he falls asleep with his head on her knees. And she a sound sleeper, apparently, in addition to being dumb as a sack of hammers. She gets somebody to come in and shave his head while he's asleep. The Philistines are upon thee, Samson. He wakes up and grabs his trusty jawbone and says, where are the Philistines? Oh, I'm weak as a kitten. Delilah's response is not recorded. So they gouge out his eyes, take him away, and lock him in a dungeon and use him as an object lesson and some mockery to these Philistines. But his hair began to grow whilst he was in captivity. You notice it's not the Spirit of the Lord that gives him the strength to tear down this house with 1,000 people on the roof. It's his hair. His fucking magic hair. It's a miracle. His magic hair begins to grow. And the lad who led him by the hand. I remember when I was a kid. This transition gonna make sense in a minute. A very small child. I was involved in in retrospect, truly terrible school sort of bathrobe pageant production called Famous Kids of the Bible, where somebody had gone through the book with a damn fine-tooth comb and rustled up every story about wherein a child played a pivotal part and made a musical out of it. And one of the chapters, one of the vignettes, was about this kid who led Samson to the central pillars of the temple of Dagon. No name, no dialogue, no nothing, just happened to be leading poor old blind Samson around. But Samson prays a prayer and gets enough strength either from the Spirit of the Lord or from his magical hair. Now, here's a question for you. Now that we're thinking about it, Samson's magic hair is allowed to regrow while he's in captivity? You'd think that would be the number. This is some Bond villain level dumbassery here. If you manage finally to capture your nemesis and discovered that his super strength comes from having 7 magic dreadlocks, and you only manage to capture because the Bond girl turns traitor and hires a barber to come cut off his 7 magic dreadlocks, and you gouge out his eyes for no readily discernible reason other than to be a dick, and take him away in chains and lock him in the dungeon, isn't the first and most obvious thing you do to make sure his ass stays bald? Very, very bald. Don't you have somebody down there with a flint about every 3rd day, scraping his head till the blood comes out, making sure that your bald captive superhero stays very, very, very bald? Come on. I mean, 101. In this, like capturing the werewolf and accidentally leaving a window open in his cell that perfectly frames the full moon. Capturing a vampire and accidentally leaving a whole bunch of perfectly healthy sheep in his cell and no garlic. If you capture somebody whose strength is in his hair, you keep his ass shaved. You probably shave his pubes too, just in fucking case. Come on. Damn magic hair. All right. And he killed more people in his revenge death than he did in the entire course of his life. And then his brethren and all the house of his father came and dug his corpse out of the ruins of the temple of Dagon and take him off and bury him among his fathers. They all lived happily ever after. And thus the tale of Samson the magic-haired psycho is concluded. That's yeah. Angie says eyebrows, legs, everything. You would make sure he was bald as a proverbial billiard ball. We wouldn't even have the saying bald as a billiard ball. It would be bald as Samson, because that story would have carried on as a cautionary tale from the Philistines and from the Israelites down to this day. Weird. I said it before and I'll say it again. Weird fucking book. All right. Well, that's the story of Samson. Managed to get the whole thing in the can in a little bit over an hour. But given that we had, what, 5, 6 chapters to get through, I'm happy enough with that. I think we're going to call it here. And we'll see you again, hopefully soon, certainly on Friday. This was a little bit of a surprise even to me. I just kind of up and decided I was going to do a stream today. But we'll see you again on Friday, if not before, for the next episode of Improv Bible Study. Y'all are my core group, my few but faithful. Really? Molly Grew's not in here. She's really my other stan, as the kids say. And she says, great show. Thank you so much. Thank you for dropping in. I really appreciate you one and all. Since y'all are faithful, do you have a preference for Friday? Whether it as to whether you'd prefer a live show or a pre-recorded video. Do you have a care? Do you give a damn? I'm pretty flexible. I could go either way. You got preferences, any of y'all? Sit here in my villain pose and try to fill dead air for a second while I let people type. No preference or preference. Hit me up on Twitter. You see the Chiron down there. Just let me know if you have a preference. Let me know. Just spread the word, if you would. I've got, I know. I did have housekeeping that I meant to get into at the beginning. I'm sitting at 71 subscribers right now. Angie says she likes the live ones, but either way, I kind of like the live ones too. I like being able to interact in the chat. I've got few enough people to where I can interact with each and every one of y'all as we go on, which I really enjoy. Like I said, well, in that case, we'll plan on doing a live show on Friday. This kind of time frame ish work for y'all. I don't really want to go much later because I know I'll lose my UK folks, and a surprising percentage of my stans hail from the United Kingdom. I would really like to get to an even 100 subscribers by the entirely arbitrary date of March 13th, which is the first Friday the 13th of the year. Y'all spread word and see if you can make that happen. I have decided what my promotional idea for that will be. If we get me up to 100 subscribers by Friday the 13th of March, just because I like Friday the 13th and we don't get them very much, I'll do a live stream. I'll do an AMA. I'll do an Ask Me Anything, which I have not really done much in terms of me as a person on this channel. It's mostly been me versus usually Yahweh. And then I've spun off in different directions a little bit. I've talked about massacre footage and went after Steven Anderson and his crew once, which has turned out to be a surprisingly popular little video. But that's what I'll... Paul, I've seen your name in and around. Welcome. First time I watched live, enjoyed it. Thanks. Throw that up on the screen there, Paul. It's good to see you. And Angie says this time is good because the kids are at school. Yeah. All righty. Well, we will look at doing a live stream then around the same time, around 1 o'clock. I'm in Central Time here. Angie says, can you tell me about the Pope post? Yes. The Pope, that was promotional material for a group called Ghost BC, a musical act that does deliberately blasphemous, sort of metal, sort of pop music. And I was just so struck by the Pope poster that I put it up there and then left it up there when I came upstairs and started doing my shows out of the library proper, the Junk Shop Library. And when I was doing a lot more staged videos, that was where my poke the Pope to subscribe thing came up, because I could just plug the little subscribe button over that. Yeah, so I think that's all the housekeeping I've got. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know what that would be. All right. Well, we're a little over an hour and 15 now, and I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here. Thank y'all all so much for joining me. It has been fun. It's been interesting to go back and see some details of the story of Samson that I had absolutely no fucking remembrance of from Sunday school days. Imagine that. One thing, it was a long time ago, and for another, some of this stuff they don't teach real good. Harlots and so forth. All right. Well, I'm going to bounce out of here. Y'all take care. Be safe. Stand against hate. And we'll see you again on Friday, if not before. Bye now. End broadcast. Yes.